arch going right here, people. All right. How we doing today? What are we up to? Now, how are we feeling? Let's do a personal check. Let's check the gas tank, okay? How we doing? Are we stoked? Are you still stoked? Or is your fire still raging? Because if it's not, the easiest way to get it raging again is to go look at some other artwork that you love. You know, some of that artwork you've collected. Maybe it's images or on your computer, or maybe some of your favorite comic books, or maybe you got a painting or something like that. But go look at it. Go look over them all. Get excited again, you know. Are you keeping that critical eye locked up in the basement? Have you been disciplined doing that? You know, because you got to keep them down there, because you could be all stoked 1 minute and have that critical eye pop out of the basement and just cut you down to nothing. And all of a sudden you're questioning the meaning of life and where you're going and who you are and what you're doing and why you're even doing it. You know what I'm saying? And how terrible is that? It's really easy. This is a real mind game. This drawing, this art, and all this kind of stuff. It's a real mind game. And you got to be careful. Don't listen to other people. Other people will be the ones that they'll see you and act like a crab in the bucket. They'll see you trying to get out of the bucket and they'll want to pull you back in. You know, what you're trying to do here is you're trying to change your life. But you don't take advice from people who haven't invested in you. That's big. Don't do it, people. If they haven't invested in you, don't take advice from them, okay? Because there's many paths in life that will teach you how to use the tools to take control and change your life. And drawing's one of them. They'll say it's frivolous, and they'll mock your elementary looking drawings, and they'll compare you against the greats like Frank Frazetta or Norman Rockwell, you know, the greats of the greats, and they'll say, you know, you're no line decker, you know. But hell, you're just starting, and it's not even about that. It's about you getting the tools to control your own life. And the output of the drawing is reflective of how good you're using those tools. You see what I'm saying? It's like this. I hear this all the time about people talking about art. And talking about art like it's a commodity or a product or something like that. And they miss the whole point of what art really is. So I'm going to tell you. Art is a discussion between the artist and the creation around us. You got me? The natural world sets the boundaries and sets the precedent and sets the standard for what great art is. You as an artist, as a person, as a receiver, are going out to have a conversation with the creation and interpret that through yourself to understand the world around you. The artwork that you produce is a shadow of that conversation. Think about that. That's why it's not a product. The product, if you're looking at the product, hell, the conversation's already happened and the artist and the creation has already moved long gone. So why criticize that? What they're really trying to do is stop you from having that conversation with creation. You get me? They're trying to stop you from doing that. Just like all them fat people sitting down at the KFC trying to stop you from losing weight. They don't want you to go lose weight. They don't want you to go and find a beautiful spouse. Congratulations to Corgan. He just got married, so how about that? Good for him. Good for him. That's a big W. That's a big W. They don't want you to be happy. You know why? Because that convicts them that they could have had a choice, that they could have been happy if they had only got up and worked for it, and they don't want to do that. So think about that, okay? That's who you're fighting against, right? This ain't some Johnny-come-lately, easy-going, shallow fight that you find yourself in. Your passion has pulled you into the center of the real deal fight, the fight for control. There's nothing more serious than that fight for control, because that's what it's all about. Because if you can display that kind of control, guess what? You're going to give that to your kids. They don't want you to do that. I don't know who the they is. I have no idea. But if you look around, they don't want you to do that. They don't want you to have a conversation with creation and learn the secrets. But we do. That's what we're all about here, right? So that's why I say, write down your goals. If you're comfortable, tell me your goals. Post them. Some people have said, I want to have more dynamic drawings of characters. You know, I think Ben said that. He said, I want to draw some really dynamic poses. And you know what? That's one of the things that really got me into drawing when I was younger. I remember I'd go and I'd buy a couple Bern Hogarth books and then like want to draw some dynamic poses, and wow, you know, but then I got buried under all that anatomy and everything else that I didn't want to do. You know what I mean? I got buried underneath that perspective stuff with the rulers and the lines and the grids, and you know what? I didn't want to do none of that. I just wanted to draw something like dynamic. You know what I mean? So we're going to do that. I spent my whole life trying to figure out, how do you draw intuitively? You know? That's what we're going to do. So what are some of your goals? Did you write them down in your sketchbook? If not, do it now. Did you post it? If not, do it now. Tag me in it. Let me know what's going on, because I'm trying to tailor this whole process right here to meet the needs and help the people and stoke the fire and talk to the creator. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're trying to do. One of the things that I wanted to say was that we've been working on our simplified shapes. And that's what's important, because that's how we can move fast, and that's how you can draw intuitively. When you have the simplified shapes, it makes the decisions very simple. Okay? You're able to make the right decisions at the right time, and the decision is easy. The choice is easy. If we try to force all of this complexity onto the page all at once, then the decisions become murky. They become complex. You know, you go from doing simple math to calculus. You know what I'm saying? Nobody wants to be doing calculus in their sketchbook. You know what I mean? So we want to keep it simple. That's why we're using the cubes. You know what I mean? And to that end, I went ahead and did some sketchbooks. The other day we did the landscapes, and then we did the cubes in the landscape invention. Copying landscapes is one thing, and then landscape invention is another, because now the responsibility for the perspective is on you as the artist. When you're copying it from the picture, it comes included in the picture. You see what I mean? So that's another step up of complexity, right? So then we try to use the cube to reduce that complexity and make the decisions easy. But you can also use the cubes when you're trying to make faces and the human head. And here's what I did right here. Now, Ben was one step ahead of me. He was already making the blockheads. And, you know, his blockheads are awesome, and he's got the abstract simple shapes going. That's what you want to do. So when you do the blockheads, try to make the faces inside of the cube, like this. All you got to do is divide it in half, divide it in half again. That's it. Divided it in half, put the eyeballs there, divided it in half again, and put the mouth. Okay? That's easy. See, that's what I did over here. That's what I did right here. That's what I did down here. And then within that cube is the skull, the sphere. You can go ahead and put the sphere inside and just put a cone shape underneath it even. You can skip the whole cube part, but the cube always exists there. You know what I'm saying, people? And that's what you got to think about. You can't think about drawing on the page like you're just drawing a graphic or a symbol. You got to envision the cube on the page, and you're drawing inside of the cube, and that cube will inform all of your decisions and make it simple. That's what you want to do. It'll make it cohesive. Now, there's another book that I got, all right? This book right here comes in 2 books. Taco 2. Now, this guy's awesome, and he does all kinds of simple shapes and whatnot for all kinds of drawings of the figure. Okay? Now, when I got this book, it was kind of like a godsend, because he basically boiled down every single shape that you're going to come across in the figure down to a simple shape. Down to a simple shape. Don't know if you could hear me. You see that? And he's also on X, and you can follow him and get some free downloads if you want to start to copy him, to even see if you want to get the book or not. But I would recommend the book. The book's great. If you're into figure work, okay? And again, like I said, there's 2 books that come with it. And I'm not sure if he's Korean or Japanese. He might be Korean, I don't know, but this is what the front of the book looks like. And don't worry, I'll drop it in the link so you can go ahead and look through the link, look through the description, and find easy link to the book, okay, people? It'll be easy. But what we're all about here is trying to get rid of all that stuff that they try to, homework and all the hard, complex stuff that they try to force on you. And we're trying to make the drawing enjoyable and easy, second nature, intuitive. You know, the more we practice, the more it should become easy. Now, you're always going to struggle. You're always going to struggle. Now, the reason you're always going to struggle is because as you get better, your standard's going to move up too. And you're going to say, okay, well, that's pretty good, but I think I can do better. And you're always going to do that. So you're always going to look at your work and you're going to be like, didn't get it. Just didn't get it. Now, you know, I was talking to Patrice the other day. I don't know if you guys know who Patrice is. He's the guy who did all of the concept art for The Fifth Element. Y'all remember The Fifth Element? Came out in '97. Fantastic movie. I love that movie. It's a holy grail of movies almost. And I was talking to him and he said, you know, I'm just surprised that everybody likes this movie and my concept art so much. And I was like, holy moly, you don't see it? Everything about it is incredible. He's all, I don't know, I guess I just don't see it. And I said, I don't think you're ever going to see it because you're the one who created it. You're the chef in the kitchen who's not sure how good his food is because he's always stressing over the smallest little details to make sure it's fantastic. And then when it is fantastic and you get a resounding approval and applause from the audience, you're shocked because it finally happened. You know what I mean? Well, that's what we want to happen for us. We want to make that masterpiece. We want to have that as a way of life. So go ahead, get in your sketchbook, get them cubes together, put them faces on them. Be proud of yourself for doing that 30 minutes every day, okay? Don't look at your drawings as if they don't measure up. Instead, look at your drawings as if today you flew for 30 minutes. And that's what's important to you. So get out there and fly. Let's get on to it, okay?